Hi, good morning. I just wanted to go over your balanced diet activity today. There were a couple of questions on that, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen so I can show you some of the questions people were having. So this is the Chapter 25 Balanced Diet Lab activity. You had to record your diet for 2 days this week, and the first week that you were to do that, you're just supposed to record your diet, your regular diet. And so down here, I had to go back and change this. The carbohydrates in milligrams, this should actually be just carbohydrates in grams, fats in grams, and proteins in grams, not in milligrams. And that will help you out a lot more when you're looking at any of your dishes, anything that you're eating. So for example, when you're looking at just if you had, some crackers, you can look on the side of the box and you can easily see, how much total fat there is, 9 grams. Then you look at carbohydrates, 37 grams, and proteins, 3 grams. So you can find things right on the edge of the box. You can also go to an app. So I have an app here. There's many apps, but MyFitnessPal is one app that's under like an Under Armour type app, and that will give you, you can look up any type of diet, you can put in any meal or any dish that you make. And so if, for example, they have a lot of fast food stuff too, you can scan barcodes with this as well. But if you just wanted to add a breakfast meal, and say you then went to, you could put in the search field here, you could put in, say, sausage burrito, from McDonald's. If you did something like that, you can just look right away and it tells you exactly how many, what grams of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins you have. So you can do that. Otherwise, I did also include an appendix here where you can look up just any, if you make a meal and you don't know together what they all are, you just look up the individual ingredients. Almonds, for example, 1 tablespoon of all almonds is 1.4 grams of carbohydrates, 1.3 grams of protein, and 3.9 grams of fat. So you can look it up individually, or on packages, they have everything. So once you have all of that, then you're going to go to your chart here, and you're going to put down the dishes that you had, your carbohydrates in grams, fats in grams, proteins in grams, and then calories. Now it is asking you to look at your percentages. So I'm asking you, can you calculate your carbohydrate, fat, and protein intake to see if they're within these limits. So just to go to a different screen here, right? So let's say your carbohydrates, these are your normal amounts and the normal percentages. And let's just give an amount here. And let's say that your carbohydrates you had were like 100 milligrams for the day. And your lipids, they were around, let's say you had for fats, maybe 50 milligrams, and proteins, well, let's make carbohydrates like 200 milligrams and proteins like 100 milligrams, right? So you add up all the milligrams that you had for the day, that's 350, which is super low. So let's make this a little higher. Let's say 300 milligrams of carbohydrates, 200 milligrams of proteins, and let's say 150 milligrams of fats. So add those all up to 5, 6, so you've got 650 milligrams here. And then you're just looking to see, are they, for carbs, you had 300 milligrams out of 650. So calculate that on your calculator. 300 divided by 650, that means you had 46%. So that was 46% of carbohydrates. And then your lipids were 150 milligrams. So that was 34%. And then proteins, 200 milligrams is going to be super high. was 30%. Not too bad. So that's going to be 30% because here lipids I did 150 divided by 650. And for proteins, I did 200 divided by 650 to give these answers. Okay, and 300 divided by 650 is 0.46. And to get the percentage, then you multiply 100, and that's where you get 46%. Then we look and see, well, 46% for carbohydrates, were you within normal limits? Yes. 34% of lipids, were you in normal limits? Yes. 30% of proteins, were you in normal limits? Yes. And then the second day, what you're going to do is try to take this lipid amount, and carbohydrates are pretty huge too when trying to treat people for cardiovascular disease, because carbohydrates get converted to lipids in the body. So we also want to keep this lower too. So then we would look at, all right, on the second day, you're trying to keep this down. You want your milligrams of lipids to be grams. I keep going to grams. Keep going to milligrams. All right, so you want your milligrams here to be, or your grams of lipids to be much lower. You want those grams to be, around no more than 40, And so we're gonna try to keep them around 20 grams and just see how well that day goes. So for one day, not gonna kill you, not gonna be as much fun, but we're gonna try to keep those grams really, really low for your lipids. And that's what a person with cardiovascular disease would be looking at for a diet. So carbohydrates also we'd want to keep lower. So instead of, having 300 grams, try to cut those down as well. And then that's it for this activity. There's other questions that you might have on here. We're looking at, then look at the carbohydrates, because not all carbohydrates are created equal. There's simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. The simple carbohydrates are way too easy for your body to break down, and that it takes like no energy at all to break those down. Carbohydrates will be very simply converted, broken down or converted into lipids. So carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates are much better. So then you look at that chart, the other appendix, to see how much fat a person should consume to reverse cardiovascular disease. So if we go back to our diet and we look at this appendix, and you just look to see, first of all, this one is for men and women. You're looking at your ideal weight. So first you find your ideal weight, whether you're small frame, medium frame, or large frame. And then you're looking at the total maximum fat intake that a person should have. And so you find your ideal body weight, and then you're going to go to, whether you're a male or a female, what's your ideal body weight going to be? And then depending on your activity level, this is going to be how many grams of fat you should be taking in with a person with cardiovascular disease. So a person that has weighs 140 pounds, they're moderately active, meaning they're doing some type of 30-minute exercise 3 to 4 days a week. They would be trying to lower their fat intake to 21 grams per day. And then that's what you would want to use in your balanced diet activity on that second day to try to keep your, and again, these are grams, try to keep those grams of fat down to 21 grams of fat. Okay, so hope that helps. If you have any questions, please let me know.